Hey there, I'm Jeff Regard, and this is The Whole Traveler, and today we are talking about the 8 important airport mistakes that people make that can ruin vacations. Don't make them. We're going to learn what they are right now. But before we begin, if you like this channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Please, we love that. We love you, and we want to build a community together of travelers that are empowered and knowledgeable. Mistake number 1 is that people do not give themselves enough time to get to the airport and go through the airport check-in process. You need to be at the airport, your check-in terminal, 3 hours before your departure flight. That is so important and so critical. You're going to need all that time, and you'll see why. Something that's really important to know is that if you miss your flight because you didn't give yourself enough time, the airline is under no obligation to reseat you. That was your fault, not theirs. And so what's going to happen is when you try to rebook, they're going to charge you extra for that if seats are available. You might not get the seats that you want, and you might not be able to travel together if you're traveling with people. So don't risk it. Don't ruin your vacation because you couldn't get there on time. Here's what you're going to do. All right, so here's what you're going to do to make sure that you are always on time. The first thing you're going to do is go to Google Maps and figure out what the average time is from wherever you are to the airport. And then if it's over 45 minutes, add an additional 15 as a just-in-case buffer, or 30 minutes if it's rush hour as a just-in-case buffer. 15 non-rush hour, 30 rush hour. In addition, if you're driving to the airport and using long-term parking, tack on an additional 30 minutes on top of all of that. It's going to take about 30 minutes to get you from your long-term parking situation to a shuttle where the shuttle can then take you to the terminal if you're going to a large airport. I mean, obviously eyeball it for yourself, but you also want to go to the website, the airport website. The airport website will give you a lot of helpful information, like if there's road construction on long-term parking, if long-term parking is full, or where to go to long-term parking for available parking. And also it'll tell you waiting times for the security check-ins. All of that information is really helpful because it can help you adjust whether you need to leave even earlier than you thought. That's going to go a really long way to making sure that you are on time and arrive at the airport 3 hours before your departure time. All right, so bad news, you missed your flight because you didn't give yourself enough time. What do? Don't make a situation worse by your behavior. You're probably going to be mad, you're probably going to be stressed, but what you need to absolutely do is be super, super sweet and super, super apologetic. Apologize to the ticket agent and just say, sorry, this is my fault. I'm so sorry it happened. I didn't give myself enough time. I got caught up in traffic or whatever. Can you please help me? I need to get to this destination. Be very kind, be very grateful, lots of thank yous, lots of pleases. Do not blame them at all. Because what you want to do is you want to get that gate agent on your side who's going to try to get you the sweetest possible situation to getting to your destination. And that includes booking seats that are together with you and your loved ones, and maybe trying to even reduce the price that you have to pay. If not, you might also get like a ferry agent who just completely waives the fees. That's very rare and probably won't happen, but if you're on the good side, they're going to work with you. If you are an a-hole and you're angry and you're blaming everyone else, they're going to give you the a-hole treatment. And that includes probably seats that are not going to be together. You probably get a middle seat or a seat next to a bathroom because that's all they have, sorry. And you're going to probably get the highest possible price. So be nice, be sweet, be apologetic if you miss your flight and rebooking a new flight. Mistake number 2 that people make is they don't know how to check in properly. So you arrive at the check-in terminal and it's going to be a sea of people moving every which way. There's going to be carts and beeps and wheelchairs and security and all kinds of commotion and overstimulation. Lots of lights and flashing sounds. You're going to be trying to figure out what to do. Where do I go? You're going to be stumbling around, and it's going to be costing you precious time and also your patience and your sanity, which you're going to need later on down the line. Here's what you do. So the most important thing you can do in checking in efficiently and fast is doing it online 24 hours in advance All airlines now allow you to check in early. They'll send you notifications and say, now you can check in. You want to do that at the minute that you're allowed to do it, because what it does is it secures your seat and it lets them know, hey, I'm definitely coming, I'm confirmed. So your seat won't be given away, and it allows you to also print out your boarding pass. Not only print out your boarding pass, but let them know how many bags you're going to be checking. And that's also critical, because once you get to the terminal, you don't have to wait in line at the check-in gate to get your boarding pass. What you can do is you just go to an info gate agent and say, hey, where can I check in my baggage? I already have my ticket. They'll point you to that kiosk where you just scan your ticket, and then someone will come over, print out the tag, examine the baggage, and you'll be on your way. You will save time, you will save sanity doing that. It is so efficient and so helpful when you know to do that. The other thing that you want to do is you want to download or study the airport map. So download the airport app on your phone, but also have a look at the map and kind of route out the schematic of where you need to go. Like, your airline is at terminal whatever, but what aisle is your airline at? So that way you know which end of the terminal to go. That will save you time and sanity, and then know where the direction of security is. And that will also help you too. Mistake number 3 that people make, and it's a doozy, is they do not know how TSA operates. And what they end up doing is they do something, and there's a variety of behaviors that you can do that will make TSA detain you. And getting detained can be costly. It can cost you time, you can be denied boarding, and you might even potentially be arrested. And they don't care that you have a flight to catch. They don't care that you're on a vacation. You've done something that has notified them that you might be potentially a dangerous risk to air safety. And so they got to make sure that you're not that risk, that you're not that red flag. And they're going to take all the time they need to take to make sure that that's clear. And they don't care what happens to you at the end. So here's what you do instead. So when you're going through a TSA line, there's a couple of things that you need to remember. TSA, which is the Transportation Security Agency, is an extension of Homeland Security, which is a federal agency. They are federal agents who are designed to keep airports and air travelers safe in the skies. That's what they do. And they do an amazing job doing it, and we're so grateful for them for keeping us all safe. So one of the things at airports, every single airport operates slightly differently with TSA. You want to check your airport and see how many TSA lines there are, because there's actually several lines that can exist. There's the TSA pre-check line, which is usually almost always the fastest. There's a general line for all passengers. If you have TSA pre-check, you can just expedite and go into that line. They also have a clear line, which is another kind of pre-clearance line. And then they sometimes have a first class line for first class passengers and people with disabilities or mobility issues that can use that line. So you want to see what lines exist and then know what your options are, because the last thing you want to do is go to the general line but realize that you could have used the first class line or a TSA pre-check line if you have TSA pre-check. So know what line to use, that's number 1. Number 2, always have your ID and your ticket available and ready. That will save time. The last thing you want to do is be flustering around looking for everything. Just have it out, ready to go. That makes things so much easier. And also think about taking off all your jewelry, your belt buckle, before you get to the airport. Pack it all in your carry-on before you even get into the check-in terminal. And then when it clears security, then you can open your bag and you can put your belt on, you can put your jewelry on or whatever. That will also save you a lot of time as well. And the last and most important thing is know what you're allowed to bring and know what you're not allowed to bring. The last thing you want to do is bring something in your bag that you shouldn't have brought, and it's going to be treated like contraband. And what will happen is it'll trigger an entire security process where you could potentially be detained, questioned, examined, fined, and or arrested. So go into their website, have a look at the things that are allowed and not allowed, and be really clear with that. And if you have any questions, contact them and ask them what procedure that might look like. For Control 2 substances, like prescription drugs like Vicodin or Ambien, I suggest having it in the actual script bottle that it came in, not in a pill box, and with the label of the script on the prescription bottle, and or your prescription receipt that shows the prescriber, that shows the drug name, and shows your name on that prescription. Mistake number 4 that folks make are underestimating how overwhelming the airport experience can be and not taking that into account. Going into the airport can be an immediately stressful situation when you are bombarded with people, sights, sounds, beeps, and all these kinds of things all coming at you all at once. It can completely saturate you. And that is especially so for people who have mental health challenges and who are on the autism spectrum. And what it can do is, if that stress keeps building, it can trigger behaviors in folks that are not exactly going to be endearing to others. People can behave rudely, people can snap, they can say things and do things that they're going to regret and cause problems for themselves and their fellow travelers. And so here's what you want to do to manage that. So if you're feeling oversaturated, overstimulated, did you know that the airports have contemplation rooms? These are prayer rooms that are non-denominational, and they're designed to facilitate a peaceful and quiet experience. And so what you want to do is you want to go to one of those rooms and just sit there and allow yourself to be centered, allow yourself to kind of decompress and get down to a calm space where you can, get back into it. They're very, very helpful. The only thing you want to do is just make sure that you understand where the contemplation rooms are. Some of these rooms are before security, and then some of these rooms are after security. So just be mindful of where they are, because that will matter. If you cross security and they're before security, you won't be able to use them. So just bear that in mind. Some other things that you can do are have headphones. Noise blocking canceling headphones are wonders. They block out everything. Also using your phone for games and music, and also maybe having a Kindle to read as well. Something that can just distract you and keep you occupied is a really great way to kind of block out a lot of the overstimulation. All right, mistake number 5, you didn't eat enough. This is such a common mistake. You go into the plane without a full belly, and then somewhere in that flight you get hangry and things become unpleasant. This is a very common mistake. People think that, well, I'm gonna get some food, I'm gonna get something to drink, I'll be okay. No. Airlines give you what, a couple of crackers and half a Dixie cup of soda? And you think that's gonna be enough for a multi-hour flight? No. That could end up really ruining your vacation, because number one, you might get hangry enough to snap at someone and then cause some kind of altercation, right? Or you're just gonna be really unpleasant. And then by the time you get off, you're gonna be cranky and you're gonna just be like, ah. So you don't wanna do that. Here's what you do instead. This is one of the reasons why you should arrive 3 hours before your departure. So by the time you clear security, you will hopefully have at least 1 hour before your boarding time. 1 hour before your boarding time. That's going to potentially give you enough time to enjoy a sit-down meal at a restaurant that's nearby your boarding area, or perhaps go to the food court and do some kind of fast food meal. Either one of those, I highly encourage. Eat to your heart's delight, eat what you want. I always encourage people to eat whatever they want at the airport. It's not gonna be healthy, and that's fine. This is not every day. This is not every time you go out to eat. It's just this one time. So just enjoy a meal and get your belly full. It's gonna put you in a relaxing state, a positive mood. You're gonna have had a really nice hearty meal, and it's going to be a win-win for you. And then also, what I encourage people to do is go and pick up some snacks, candies or chips, and also definitely a bottle of water. So that way, you, in case for whatever reason, the flight goes on a little bit longer, or suddenly in the middle of the flight you get a little hungry, you have something there that you enjoy eating, that you can nibble at and pick at and enjoy and really feel content and calm. Eating really makes people feel calm when they fly, and I encourage it all the way. Obviously, if you have medical issues, consult with your doctor. Do not take this as advice. I don't want anybody suing me for some diabetic coma they went into. Mistake number 6 that happens to people, and it's kind of a shocker, but it does happen more often than you think, is people confuse their boarding time with their departure time. They get those crossed. So let's say the plane leaves at 3 o'clock. your boarding time is going to be 2:30. And people just think, well, it leaves at 3, so I don't need to be there until like 2:55. I'm fine. They get there at 2:55 and they realize they see the gates closed, it's empty, and they see the plane pulling out from the sky bridge because it's going to depart. The plane is going to depart at 3 and it's not going to be with you in it. Here's what you do. So the minute that you clear security, you are going to want to look at your ticket and out loud tell yourself the boarding time. The boarding time is 2:30 and we are in C19. We depart C19, 2:30. If you have travel partners, saying it out loud gets everyone oriented to the boarding time. You don't want to look at the departure time anymore because it's really the boarding time that matters the most. So boarding time, boarding time, boarding time. Know the boarding time once you clear security and know where your gate is. Go directly to your gate, identify where your gate is, and from there, measure how long it's going to take you to get from that gate to wherever you go. If you go to a restaurant or if you go shopping or whatever you're going to do, make sure you have enough time built in to meet that boarding time. Mistake number 7, you. The problem is you. You are a problem passenger and you don't even realize it. There are so many different ways to be a problem passenger, and unfortunately, it's those people who are unaware that end up causing the most problems, and it can absolutely ruin your vacation, and you can go viral to boot. You don't want to do that. Here's what you do instead. One of the most important things that you can do for yourself and for your fellow traveler is you can be a practitioner, an active practitioner of creating peace and quiet. Peace and quiet are the two most desirable words in an airport. If you are a person who is actively cultivating a peaceful environment and you're trying to be as quiet as possible because you're mindful that you are inhabiting a shared public space that is increasingly becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, you're going to do really well. People will regard you with respect and they'll be very appreciative of you as a fellow traveler. And that is one of the fastest ways to not become a problem traveler. It's just being mindful of the fact that we're all being squeezed into smaller and smaller spaces. We have to share less and less shared public space, and we just need to be considerate. You know, am I taking too much? Do I really need to make that loud ass phone call? Do I really need to be playing my phone out loud? Can I just use headphones? Do I really need to be drinking? You know, really checking yourself is really important, especially as we get down the funnel and the spaces become smaller. Being considerate, being peaceful, being quiet is absolutely one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and your fellow travelers in reducing everyone's stress load. Mistake number 8, and I think it's the biggest mistake out there, is you botch your connection flight. Unfortunately, a lot of us have to take connection flights when we're traveling to different places. But there's a right way of doing it and ensuring certain elements that can near guarantee a good, smooth connection. And then there's other things that if you don't do them or you do them, you'll guarantee that you'll potentially miss your connection. And so you don't want to miss your connection. You don't want to botch your connection because that can cost you time, that can cost you money, and it might make you so soured and aggravated you just scrap the trip altogether and go back home. Here's what you're going to do. So one of the things that you're going to do is you are going to avoid at all costs doing connection flights with 2 separate carriers. Don't do it. I know that you might think that you're saving a lot of money, but it turns out to be a horrible nightmare because once you land on the first leg, let's say you're going from New York to Denver and then from Denver to some place in Wyoming and you're taking 2 different carriers. Once you're in Denver, you got to go get your luggage and then you got to find out what terminal that new airline is at, go to that terminal and then redo the check-in process all over again. And that's where people get tripped up. They didn't give themselves enough time between the connections and they have like 45 minutes to switch terminals and recheck in and they don't make it. And then they're screwed. That will screw you each and every time, and I'm embarrassed to admit it, but it happened to me. I did that with a London to Paris flight, and I went from New York to London, London to Paris on 2 separate carriers. I missed my flight. Don't do it. It's tempting, but don't do it. Just book with a single carrier from start to finish. Your luggage will make it all the way through without you having to go and get it and recheck in and all that. The second thing that you want to avoid is you want to avoid booking a flight that leaves your first outbound flight. You don't want to do it towards the end. You want to make it the very first flight possible. That way, when you get to your second destination, if you've been delayed or you're going to miss that connecting flight, it's so early in the morning that the potential for a second, third, or fourth option is there. And you can be, rest assured, you might just lose an hour or two, but your chances of being rebooked are very high. Whereas if you book towards the end, like if your outbound flight is like around 7 o'clock and you only have that one connecting flight you have to catch, you might miss it and then you have to spend another day at that place, and that could eat away at your vacation time. So you want to avoid those two things. Take a single carrier flight and take it first thing in the morning, the first flight out, and you're gonna really increase your chances of having a successful connection. All right, that's gonna do it for me. Now you know the 8 mistakes. Don't get caught up in them. Have safe travels. If you have any comments, questions, or if you have better advice or you think this advice sucks, leave questions, leave comments. Let me know what you're thinking. And hit that like, hit that subscribe, and share.